Well, I want to welcome everybody, welcome candidates and attendees to the Auburn Area Connect Candidates Forum, sponsored by Boeing. We really appreciate the support from Boeing and their dedication to helping us at the Chamber provide informed information to our community. We greatly appreciate it. At the Auburn Area Connect, we also believe it's important not only to inform people about important mayor races or candidate races, but also other things that might be on the ballot. We have two propositions that are on the ballot, Proposition 1 and Proposition 2. These propositions are for the Auburn School District that services 17,000 children in Auburn, Algona, and the city of Pacific. I've invited Auburn Schools Superintendent, Alan Spiciotti, to briefly give you guys a brief overview of what those propositions are about so that you can be informed when you vote on them this election. So, Alan?
Thank you, Casey. I'd like to thank the Chamber for inviting me to join you this evening, and thanks to all of you for coming out, and especially if you're in the Chamber of Commerce, thanks so much for your support of our Auburn schools. I am Dr. Alan Spiciotti, the proud superintendent of the Auburn School District in my 11th year. I have 5 minutes. I'm going to use one just to tell you we're off to a great start this year. It's been really high morale, and we've kicked off a number of initiatives that are off to a great start. We have a dual language immersion program at Pioneer Elementary School. Starting with kindergarten, kids are learning part in Spanish, part in English. It has a great track record around the country. We're happy to bring it here. At the high school level, we have about 50% more kids taking AP courses than we did 10 years ago, and they're passing or earning college credit at a higher rate. So we're proud of that. And then on the career side, we have started a construction trades pre-apprenticeship program, and we're really proud of that, and kids can go on to apprenticeship or technical college or work. So really happy. Oh, and the last thing, we have banned cell phones at an instructional time across the district. So that usually gets the biggest applause. You guys get it, thank you. Yeah, I wish we had done that earlier. Okay, now to the bond and the levy, and I'm going to start by saying, unlike the candidates who are in front of you, I'm here in my official position, so I'm going to be just the facts. I'm going to channel my Joe Friday mode and try to get through this in 3 or 4 minutes. First of all, as Casey said, we have two propositions on the ballot. The first is a bond. And about a year ago, we convened a citizens ad hoc committee, parents, community members, some staff, to look at the district facilities and make a proposal to our school board for what to be on the ballot. The bond has 3 schools. The first is a new middle school. So we have 4 middle schools currently. Part of our story is Auburn is a growing district. For the last 15 years, we have grown quite considerably. And our middle schools have 43 portable classrooms. So that's about 1,000 kids who, what that means is we have enough kids to fill the middle school on the first day. That school will be up at the top of Lakeland Hills on property the district owns near Hagen. As you go around towards the lake on Sumner Taps Highway, there's a big open space. I'm sure you've seen it. The other 2 schools are a replacement for Cascade Middle School, and Cascade is 58 years old. Alpac Elementary is the third one. It's 53 years old. And we've taken care of them as best we can, but we are going to the voters to ask for a bond to build the schools. We use a 20-year bond, and our last bond, we completed all the projects, within the budget and timeline. So this bond is $490 million, and it requires 60% yes and a validation number, which means that we need 15,490 people to vote. And that's 29% turnout. It doesn't sound like much, but it's higher than we've been since the pandemic for the off-year elections, the council elections, and so forth. So it's really important Casey's message about getting out the vote. However you vote, please vote. The second measure is a capital levy, and the capital levy addresses 3 areas: safety and security, large maintenance projects, and it's a renewal of our technology levy that's existing. Every school benefits, all 24 schools benefit in some way. All of them will benefit from the technology levy. Any school older than 10 years old will benefit from safety and security. What we're doing is proposing to bring all of our older schools up to the current standard. So secure entry vestibules, 6-foot fencing, modern locks and cameras and all that. And then the maintenance projects, a lot of it's like your house, right? We have some schools that it's time for a new roof, flooring, a little bit of seismic retrofitting, air conditioning for the 7 schools that don't have it, and so forth. And the levy requires 50% yes. If both measures pass, it would be an increase of $1.29 per thousand of assessed valuation. But I do want to put that into context. 8 years ago, our school district levy rate, or school district tax rate was $6.74. Today it's $4.48. So that fluctuates some as we pay off bonds and as the community grows. So while this is an add, it's different than some taxes that every time you add, it's adding to the very top. So we're kind of in a low of the cycle. And there's much more information on our website that I can't cover in 5 minutes. So lastly, again, we're a civic organization. Every election, when you drive by one of our schools, you'll see on the reader board, please vote or remember to vote. I'm not here to ask you how to vote in my official capacity, but it is so important that we encourage the entire community to participate in the democracy and really take advantage of what we have here in America. Thanks again to the Chamber. Thanks to all of you for coming out. Have a great night.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate you coming here and informing us. It's extremely important for us to be a competitive city. And to be a competitive city, we need schools that have the technology. We need schools that have the great programs, especially with the diversity that we have in our community and how you guys are serving that diversity. It's impactful for our workforce because you guys are teaching our future workforce, right? And we also want people to want to live and work in our community. And if we're going to do that, we need to have schools that are competitive and also honestly just educating our children and keeping them safe. So I appreciate it, Alan. Next, I am pleased to introduce you to this year's Candidate Forum moderator, Lacey Katz. Lacey is part of the management staff at the Outlet Collection Seattle, as well as a committed Auburn Area Connect executive board member. Lacey, thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Casey. All right. Good evening, and thank you, Casey. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We appreciate having all of you here. We know what it means to give up your time for something this important. I'm excited to be part of this event that brings out community members and leaders who are invested in the Auburn area. It's no small thing that each of the candidates here today are stepping forward in the hope to take on a challenging role to represent and support our community. As a member of the Auburn business community, I thank you. And I thank you, the Auburn and thank you to the Auburn Area Connect for their work in putting this forum together. And for this awesome t-shirt. With that, let's get started. Okay, so here are the rules. We'll call them the rules. Each candidate will have a minute for opening introductions. I then have a set of 6 questions I will be asking the candidates. You will each have 1 minute to answer these questions. Each question will begin with a different candidate answering first, and I'll announce who that candidate is. Casey will be the timekeeper, sitting in the front to provide a 30-second reminder and a stop sign to the candidates to keep the forum on time. Please be mindful of your time to keep the forum on track and fair for all candidates. I will interrupt you if I have to, but I don't want to, so just letting you know. Same thing for our audience. Let's not get too wild. Then after the first 6 questions, the next will be a series of yes or no questions. You have a card at your seat that says yes or no that you can use to answer the questions. You may also choose to abstain from answering a question. Finally, each candidate will have 2 minutes to provide closing comments. We do ask candidates that you not use any electronic devices during the Q&A section. We have provided you with a notepad and a pen if you need to take notes throughout the forum. All right, so we're going to begin with opening statements on why you are running, your qualifications for the position you're running for. All right, so we'll begin with candidate Backus, going down the line, ending with candidate Clark.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce and Junior Achievement for hosting tonight's candidate forum. I am your mayor, Nancy Backus. There's a saying that all government is local. That's because at the local level, there is a direct impact on our daily life, day-to-day services and policies that we interact with most often. That includes public safety, utilities, and road maintenance, to name a few. I'm proud to be your mayor, ensuring that those services and communications are delivered to you in the very best way possible, keeping you informed while we're doing it. With so much chaos at the national level, you deserve a mayor with experience and leadership, and that knows how to navigate the pitfalls of political divides. My door is always open to hear from you. I listen and make changes when we can. I've built strong relationships across the state, this region, and within our city to ensure your voice is heard and respected. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the Chamber and the Junior Achievement for having us here tonight. I am running for mayor because I've been in council for 12 years. In the past 4 years, I have seen our city going a direction that we need a change. Also within our council within the 4 years, I have seen that we have not really been working together and facing the issues and dealing and passing some things that we really need to pass. I didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to run for mayor. I thought about this for 7 months and thought about it, and when I saw that things were getting worse within our council, that is when I decided I need to step up. I was not going to run again. I've served 12 years in this council, 3 years in the Planning Commission. I've been involved nationally, locally, and regionally in a lot of committees, and I have been the chair of several of them, so I know about leadership. Right now, I'm the president of the Hilo National Leagues of Cities, and that's why I am stepping up, because I do have some experience in this. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you to our hosts. My name is Kate Baldwin. I am your current Auburn City Council member for position 2, and I'm here seeking the honor to serve for another term. Now, for those of you who may not know me, I was born and raised in Michigan, and I grew up in a household where it was headed by a single mother who worked 2 jobs while caring for myself, my brother, and our elderly great-grandmother. That's a lot to juggle, and we were always on a tight budget. So I often grew up hearing, Kate, this is my last $20 until I get my next paycheck. And I know that's a common thing that a lot of people, maybe even some in this room, have had to experience. With that, I know that hard work can solve a lot of problems, but it doesn't solve everything. We need to have a government and systems that put working families first. And so in the time that I've been on council, I've tried to do that. I've tried to make sure that we invest your tax dollars wisely. I make sure that we invite more voices to the table. I make sure that we continue to put money into services that help everyone from our youth to our seniors. And at the end of the day, I work to make sure that our decisions respect people who are on their last $20. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adib, and I am running for City Council position 2. I believe the purpose of local government is to make every day for the residents their life a lot better. And I truly believe that it's the streets that our roads drive on, it's the sidewalks we walk on, and the water that comes to our house. All of that it starts with the local government. So as a civil engineer, as somebody who works on a daily basis with residents and tries to solve problems, this is something that I am more than willing to take on. I believe in the mission that the city has, and I believe it needs to be a place where families can put their roots, where businesses can thrive, and where younger generations can have a future to look forward to. we need to together build a city that not only is functional, but flourishes and is successful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is, oh, it's kind of loud there. Hi, my name is Brian Lott, and I'm running for position 4. And, to be brief, I've been a project manager for over 30 years, and my wife and I moved to Auburn in 2019, and I decided to run a few years ago for city council because I think Auburn deserves better. And when I say better, that means, storefronts that are filled in downtown instead of empty, and a safe public place for people to walk around. And it kind of got upsetting to me talking to retirees in downtown that live here, that they're afraid to walk around downtown. And so I decided that instead of being one of the people that was just going to complain, that I would step up and run for office and use my skills as a project manager to see if we can solve some of these issues that Auburn has. Because since I moved here in 2019, I've not seen it get any better. And so that's why I'm running. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Thomas, and I am running for position 4 on the Auburn City Council. I am a state employee. I've worked at the Department of Health now for 7 years. I am also a labor leader. I am highly involved with my union. I'm a shop steward, as well as a member of my council's e-board. I was just at a convention this week for labor. And I'm also a new mom. I was able to give birth to a beautiful baby girl last year, and she's being raised to live here in Auburn, grow up here, go to our schools, and consider this her home. And that is part of the reason that I am running for council, because I want to make sure that she and all of the other children who live here are going to have the best Auburn ready for them in the future when they are adults, so that they will want to stay here, continue to build generations of homes here, and not, just run off to wherever the next best opportunity is. Obviously, if she chooses that, that's great, but I want to make this a place that she'll want to come back to. And so that is why I am up here today. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Sturgis, and anyone who knows me would say that I'm a proud mama bear to the most amazing daughter on the planet. I love my husband, even when he leaves his socks clumped up in a ball on the floor. I'm a friendly, loyal daughter, niece, friend, or I'm a fiercely loyal, daughter, niece, friend, and favorite auntie to all of my nieces and nephews. Who I do stink at text replies quickly, but I always have everyone's back when they need me. I've overcome just about every type of life challenge you can think of, and so I feel that my life experiences have shaped me to have an abnormal level of gratitude and empathy. I show up every single day with a can-do attitude, and I know that my leadership experience in my professional career has helped me that as I've been appointed to your current city council member in position 6, I'm serving now the remainder term of Mr. Larry Brown. I'm running now to earn your vote for a full 4-year term. My leadership strengths and style help advance progress and engagement in our city. I know that I'm a bridge builder, even in my short period of time in office, and I look forward to continuing to be able to bring that value add.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kobe Clark. I'm a former real estate developer, and I built several hundred homes in Washington State. And over the course of my career, I did it for about 10, 15 years, it became clear to me that it was getting harder and harder to build housing, and that my kids weren't going to be able to own a house in the same way that I was going to be able to own a house if we continued on the trajectory that we were going. And it also became apparent to me that politics was becoming more about how to take from the share of the pie and give it to your friends, and on both sides of the aisle. It's more about taking and redistributing rather than growing the pie. And I think that's just antithetical to the American dream. And I'm running a growth campaign. I think we need to get politics back to a place where we're focused on growing the pie for everyone, and creating an environment of abundance where we can all have houses and we can all live a good life without having to argue with each other all the time. And so my campaign focuses on creating new housing, defending and protecting civil rights and rule of law, and streamlining economic development.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is when we will start our 6 questions. Just as a note to everybody, the order will change each time. So I will read the questions, I will announce the first person. Once they finish, I will announce the second person, so on and so forth. So the first question tonight: what is your position for balancing the city's budget And how do you propose the city approaches generating revenue versus spending the money it generates? And our first response will be from candidate Trout. If you don't mind passing the microphone down this way.
Don't worry, I won't start the time until you actually have the microphone in your guys' hands.
Well, every year we do have the opportunity to look at our budget and make sure that our budget is balanced. And to make sure that, could you repeat that really quick?
Yes, of course. All right, so what is your position for balancing the city's budget, and how do you propose the city approaches generating revenue versus spending the money it generates?
Okay, I'm going to speak on the generating the money. I think that we have a lot of ways of bringing money into our city, and that's with grants. I know that I have brought into our cities 2 grants, but they were declined. One was for $60 billion for infrastructure. The other one was for $60,000 for working on our streets. We are leaving money at the table, and we need to make sure that we look and take the time to look at these grants and make sure that they are fit for our city, and make sure that our budget, and we're not spending more money than's coming in. We look at the budget every year, and the way that we will do that is to continue doing what we've been doing the past 12 years.
All right, candidate Backus.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I am going to tell you that all local budgets have to be balanced. We don't have an option of not having a balanced budget like the federal level or even the state level. We are required to have a balanced budget every year. And expenses are getting out of control. And so in the upcoming biennial budget, every 2 years we pass a new budget. I have asked our team to look at a zero-based budget, which means we will defend every program that is there. In the past, programs have just been rolled over from biennium to biennium, and what may have been a good program 10 years ago may not be worth the money that we're spending on it now. So the upcoming budget is going to be a zero-based budget, and I am not going to ask for another penny before I can prove to you that we are spending the money that we currently have in the appropriate manner.
Candidate Clark.
Thank you, everyone. It's great teamwork up here. Appreciate that. Number one, I think I'm going to go back to what I had talked about growth. I think increasing density in areas of the city which are already served by high-density infrastructure, such as around the mall, near the downtown core, and creating homeownership opportunities for multifamily structures, for condominiums, for example, is a great way to increase the tax base without necessarily increasing the tax burden, and that makes tax burdens go down for everyone and gets the city more revenue. I'm also a big believer in volunteer programs. The city used to have a volunteer police force or a volunteer branch of the police force called Citizens on Patrol, and they were able to interact with the police force and conduct administrative tasks, help with fingerprinting, and then that allowed us to utilize officers in more high-impact ways. I'd also like to see the opportunity for private parties, homeowners associations, local communities and neighborhoods be granted the opportunity to go through a permit process to make roadway improvements, filling potholes, putting up speed bumps, whatever it might be. Now, that in no way means that the city's going to do that less, but it's an opportunity for everybody to do it more without increasing the tax burden.
Thank you. Candidate Sturgis?
Yes, well, my position on a balance for balancing the city's budget is that it absolutely has to be balanced. I do support and fully stand behind a zero-based budget. I think that it's healthy to look every year to 2 years and assess what's working, what's not, and then be able to make the adjustments needed. And so with this being my first year in City Council, I'm actively looking at the effectiveness of programs to see how we can streamline funding. Is there an opportunity to streamline resources or to combine areas to have a multiplier effect? I also am very interested in exploring public-private partnerships to look at bringing more developments to our city, and then also looking at the revenue that can come from property taxes, from increased availability of new housing development with the zoning changes that can happen.
All right, candidate Thomas.
Yeah, so first thing is obviously we need to look at our current budget, see what is working, what is not. Working in government for the past 7 years, there's always going to be something in there that is just sort of lingering from prior administrations or projects that doesn't really need to be there anymore, and we can probably cut stuff. That's just the reality of government. Beyond that, I honestly believe that we have a lot of really high revenue generating industries in the area. We've got Boeing right next door, we've got Safeway, we've got Amazon. These are all large companies that should be paying more into our communities. They are building their wealth, they're building their finances off of the people here in Auburn who work for them, who may make a decent wage if they're lucky, if they're like a place like Boeing, but Amazon, definitely not. And I think they could be doing a bit more to be chipping in to help us out through higher tax burdens. Maybe it's through partnerships where they're helping fund more things, but I think they should be doing more to chip in and help make this a place where people want to live so that people who work at these companies can actually afford to live in Auburn.
Candidate Lott.
Yeah, I'll take the opposite of that. I will say that I'm not for taxing people more. I'm for lowering taxes to bring more businesses into Auburn, which generate tax revenue. I'm also for doing a complete review of the city budget and say, what do we have here? What's measurable and transparent that we can look at, and really what's sustainable and what are wins? I'm looking at buying wins, not buying losses. And so I think that there should be a full review of the city budget. And there's a question, since I arrived here in 2019, there's been a 35% increase in administrative spending in the city. And I got a question, why is that and what are we getting for our money? Because ultimately, this is your money out here. This is not the city's money. You are paying to run the city. You should know exactly what every dollar is being spent on. And I don't think that's the case right now. And so part of my getting in here is to go through that budget and look at what's measurable, what are wins, what are losses, and move money around to create a sustainable winning environment where the city can fund projects that are a success.
All right, candidate Atalal.
I think first, to have a position on a budget, you need to understand what is the budget. We know it's a biennial budget. I've worked with several biennial budgets, working as an engineer in local government, and we also know it needs to be balanced. We can't have a budget that's not balanced. We're in local government. That's required. But we need to be expenses. Again, we need to be proactive, not reactive. So those off years where we have the amendments to adjust the budget, that's where the work needs to happen. And we don't need to be elected officials to know what it says in the budget. All of that is publicly available documents. It gets updated every year. Anybody can look at it. All of you are practicing community governance by being here. So you can as easily have input on the budget, whether we're elected or not. So it's something that can be done together, and the city needs to be doing it together. As for the revenue, we need to find creative ways. It's not just have this business, have this tax. What can we do that we haven't done before that generates revenue?
All right, and then candidate Baldwin.
Thank you. So I've been chair of our finance committee in my time serving on council, and I am proud that we've been able to, not necessarily easily, but we've been able to have balanced budgets as noted in the 2 cycles that have happened within my term. A budget represents the values of your community. And one of the things I'm proud to say is that when we have needed to make investments, like increasing our headcount for police, we've been able to do so by looking at what's needed and making the changes to put it into place. We do that review as part of the beginning of every cycle, and I expect that'll continue to go forward. I have kudos for our current administration and our directors because we have been building up our cumulative reserve so that way when we have issues like potential recession forces that we may see coming, we're going to be in a more stable position to address that as we go forward. For increasing revenue, I see that as an opportunity to work with our local businesses and help them find more customers. The more that we're able to bring that business into Auburn, we're going to be able to get better sales tax back and address it in those ways. We also have opportunities to implement a sales tax with some changes happening at the state level, which we may hear more about.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our second question. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of policies and programs implemented by the City Council? And we're going to go in the exact opposite order and start with candidate Baldwin.
Let's hear that one more time.
Absolutely. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of policies and programs implemented by the City Council?
Thank you. One of the things that I look at when I'm looking at policies that we have are trying to find out, is this costing us more than it needs to? Is there a different way that maybe another community is handling this issue that we could mimic and represent? We don't always have to do everything from scratch. There are some communities that have implemented community responder programs that have been able to save millions of dollars and provide better methods of response to get the right people to the right situation when they're calling for help. So when we look at our policies, it's not to say we throw everything out, but how do we make those adjustments along the way to have alignment with what the dynamic needs of our community are. And so it could be from a budget standpoint. It could also be looking at, are there any community groups that are negatively affected by this? Is this affecting our business owners? Is this affecting our students? Is this affecting our residents? And are those near-term or long-term? So there's both a sort of micro view and macro view. And so we have to ask, is this something that will benefit us, not just tomorrow or in this immediate moment, but is this going to be beneficial in the long run? In some communities, like our Muckleshoot neighbors, they refer to it as 7 generations forward. So when we make those decisions, we can use that approach.
Thank you. And you can just pass to the left, Candidate Otzalal.
So when resolutions, when policies are being passed, they need to be evaluated well before they come to the stage where it's being at the council level. Those subject matter experts need to be involved. The residents need to be involved. Who else does it affect? Businesses, youth, everybody needs to be involved while the policy is being created. It needs to get evaluated during that entire life cycle of it. Whether it goes well, we need that feedback right away. The quicker we get the feedback, the better it is. But we need to create an area that feedback feels safe and welcome. We need to go out of our way to find those places of worship, schools, whatever it may be, grocery stores, that people feel safe to have an opinion about the policy that we're thinking about passing. So it needs to be a community effort. Thank you.
All right, Candidate Lott.
Yeah, when I look at a policy and how it's performing, the first thing that comes to mind is to look at the customers, or in this case, the community, and ask for feedback on it. And feedback from the community, to me, is the first level of measurement to see if the policy is working or not. The second level of measurement is going to be anything that I would pass would need to be measurable, one, so that we know what our goals are, and if we're in the measurement, we're in control or out of control in that bandwidth, and is it sustainable? I don't want to fund a policy where we clear out like a homeless encampment, and then 6 months later, it's back there again. And I've seen that happen year after year near the Fred Meyers. And so part of what I'm looking for is sustainable, measurable results. And a lot of that comes from the community and the feedback from them. Thanks.
All right, Candidate Thomas.
So evaluation is actually my job. So I think about this a lot. And the most important thing is evaluation of any policy or program. We have to think about how we're going to measure that success as we are designing the policy or program. So we need to know, if this is what we're implementing, how are we going to measure success, and what is the timeline that we're putting on that? So that is something that I would want to see baked in and would demand to be baked into every level of thing, and making sure we're doing regular reviews of these things, especially with a lot of policies. Sometimes it can be reactive. We're responding to something happening immediately in the community, and there's a need to look back and say, did this actually do what we thought it was going to, and is it causing harm, or is it causing good as it continues to sit on the books? So making sure evaluation is a constant process and also included from the very beginning would be my strategy.
Candidate Sturgis.
Thank you. Evaluating the effectiveness for me as a city council member means understanding what are the metrics that we're going to measure, and then also combining that with qualitative and quantitative tracking of results. And an example of that is that we approved to add, I think, 10 officer FTE a couple years back, as well as take-home cars. Something to me is looking at what's working, what's not. We've added incredible officers to police force, and we have a recruiting officer now making a great impact. Being able to ask questions about what's working, what's not is critical. Seeing the quality of the candidates, has that changed, has that improved, is it meeting the mark of what we were looking for? That's important. The take-home car is moving a little bit slower, great. Now we're looking for alternative organizations that can upfit the vehicles so we can get that moving how we need to. It's about constantly assessing what's working, what's not, and are we achieving the outcomes that we initially set out to achieve, and then making tweaks along the way accordingly.
Candidate Clark?
So in advance of running for office, I decided to go back to school and finish my degree after I sold my development company. And I'll be finishing my degree in economics and policy analysis next month. And I recently published a number of policy analyses that you can actually find online. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see an analysis of Senate Bill 5599. And there's a number of different analysis frameworks you can use, and effectiveness is just one aspect of my preferred framework, and that is the Kraft and Furlong framework of policy analysis, which follows the 4 E's process. And that is effectiveness, efficiency, is it ethical, and is it equitable? And 2 of those questions are normative or qualitative, and 2 of those questions can be quantitative or measurable, as the other candidates here have identified. And you need to follow an interdisciplinary approach and identify all 4 of those metrics, and then make sure that the values of the program align with the community, as candidate Adib mentioned. And then you also need to create a follow-up plan 5, 10, 15 years with the qualitative metrics to come back and make sure that it's actually doing what you intended for it to do.
All right, and if we could pass it back down to candidate Backus.
Thank you. I love the answers that I've heard so far, so I'm really going to enjoy working with whomever the council members are for the next 4 years. I think it's important, as you've heard, to listen to the community, to the business owners, to the residents, even to the visitors to come into our city, because that's how we're going to generate some more of that revenue, is the visitors coming in, the tourism. I will tell you that policies are not just evaluated on the fiscal bottom line, but they have to be evaluated on a social bottom line as well, just like our homelessness, that is a program that is a model in this region.
All right, and candidate Trout.
Thank you. They've all said it all very well, didn't they? When I have something that comes to us for being passed as a policy, I always look on who's it going to affect, how's it going to work, and are we including everybody at the table, and that this is going to facilitate every culture in this city, and make sure that they all understand what we are trying to pass. And I do believe that we need to make sure that the value of it, it's not going to cost us a lot of money, and just make sure that it's a good program, make sure that it is working, and if it isn't working, then we need to go and look at another way to make sure that it's going to work for our city and our people in our city. I've also been working close with the businesses in town to make sure that they're getting what they're supposed to be getting from us policymakers. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. All right, question number 3. What strategies would you use to work with other members of councils, neighboring municipalities, and regional entities to address challenges such as transportation, housing, and public safety? And this one, we're going to start with candidate Lott.
Well, I would say that my strategy is really collaborative, and I kind of take on the role as a servant leadership. And in that style of management, you bring people together, and it's a collaborative environment to work through and find common ground. And from that common ground baseline is where you move, and you move the agenda to the direction you need it to be for the project or the goal. And that's something I currently do now. That's something I did last year. And it'll shock some people to know that I was involved in the Democratic Convention and worked in Chicago and managed part of the exterior footprint of that operation. And that's a collaborative environment. And you work with the federal government, the Democratic Party, the city, and the state to manage resources and make sure everybody safely attends and departs that event. And so that's been my style of management for 30 years, and I wouldn't change it. And that's what I would bring to the table here.
Thank you. Candidate Atala? To your right.
So there's a lot to do to be collaborative on this level. You need to work at a regional, you have a regional view in what needs to happen. Other cities or districts have done whatever you need to do before. So look for what lessons are learned. There's no other city just like Auburn, so you can't just copy paste what they've done, but you can learn from what they've done that didn't work and assume it's not going to work for us unless there's something that proves us otherwise. And we can tell by working at a regional level, which I've done a lot within the county and outside of the county, as an engineer, as a union steward, as a soccer coach. There's a lot of crossing over between different organizations and making sure you're speaking the same language at the end of the day, in the sense of they know what you're trying to get across and you're not making assumptions. When you start making assumptions, that's when it starts getting really difficult to know what the goal is.
Candidate Baldwin?
Thank you. I think this question is about the importance of advocacy for people who serve as your elected officials. And so one of the most important things being in this seat or on the dais is to understand what powers you have in your span of control at a local level and what those powers are for people at the county, state, and national level. So being able to know the legislators that you need to work with in those arenas, part of what we do as a council is we put together a legislative agenda, and we can move that forward through appointments that we have on different commissions and committees throughout the region and even at the national level. There are organizations like the Association of Washington Cities and National League of Cities where we can meet and partner with others who are in this work just like we are. From a solutioning standpoint, yes, sometimes we learn from others' mistakes, and sometimes we're the ones who are the leaders doing things that others want to come to us and learn how we're doing it. So I see that as the sort of manifest experience of being an advocate as a council member. In addition to that, I think that when we build coalition, not only with other government officials, but with other nonprofits, other agencies, we can get a lot done.
All right, Candidate Trout?
Yes, thank you. Collaboration is something that I, as a council member, being involved in nationals, committees and regional committees and local committees, we come together, and we're no different than any other city. Every city that I have gone to, every place that I have gone to, they all have the same issues as we do. And so we just learn to work together to bring the best that we can to our city. And as most of them have already said, being a leader, you have to learn to collaborate and work with everybody, even with our Congress. I've gone to that area and talked to our Speaker of the House and worked on an issue that I brought the project to the state of Washington, and we got it done. And that was with Highway 12. We made it into a 4-lane highway, brought in $40-some billion, and also the signs that say "Don't drink and drive." That's a way that I collaborated with the state of Washington.
All right, Candidate Backus?
Thank you. The quick and easy answer is to continue doing what I'm already doing. I work with the leaders in South King County and the entire county throughout the state in the organizations that I'm involved in. I'm on the Sound Transit Board, bringing transportation to South King County. I'm on the Association of Washington Cities Board, bringing great policy and fiscal accountability to our state, as well as on public safety. There have been issues in the last few years where South King County, and specifically Auburn, Renton, and Kent, have been leading the efforts to make sure that our King County Prosecutor's Office are prosecuting the offenses that should be prosecuted to make sure that our city is safe. I have been working tirelessly on that. We have all kinds of proof, op-ed pieces, letters, advocacy, and I will continue to do that as your mayor because that is what you deserve.
All right, if we could pass it down to Candidate Clark.
Thank you. As part of my career as a developer, I also got to function as a broker and a market maker, and connecting people who are in need of a service and people who supply that service has been part of my career. And I'd like to see the city incorporate more private-public partnerships. I think it's, I've seen people who are suffering from drug addiction out in the street, and they're like 3 blocks away from a rehab center, and if somebody just gave them the opportunity, it's like, here's a business card, the rehab center's right here. It just takes a little push, and to connect those people with services that can serve them. And so I'd really like to focus on helping those who need those services and connecting them with the local communities, the nonprofits, the charities, and the even for-profit that run on insurance programs, so that we can help get people off the street.
All right, candidate Sturgis.
Yes, the strategies I would use to engage with folks is what I do now currently every day, and what I've done for the last 20 plus years in my leadership roles is identify what is the problem or the gap, get all of the key stakeholders who need to be involved in the conversation together, schedule a sit down, get everyone around the table, talk about it, find out what's working, what's not, and then be able to get the right people involved to move the process forward, to build a plan and move it forward. Whether it be a community member here who's frustrated with potential development happening in their land, going and doing a walkabout, identifying and seeing what the real problem is, and then being curious and going and finding out who all needs to be involved in this conversation. That's how I operate. I go and I sit down with people, I have conversations, I learn as much as I can, and then I go find out what can be done so that we can move towards putting a solution in place and moving the problem forward.
All right, and candidate Thomas.
Yeah, so as far as like collaborations go, there are very few problems I think that we have here in Auburn that are unique to Auburn. While as a city we can address things within our borders, realistically, the rising unhoused population, the cost of housing and rent, childcare costs, these are all things that are being experienced all around our community, all around our state. So being able to collaborate with our neighbors and work on regional solutions, I think is a really important thing and something that I would highly advocate for, because it's not just an Auburn problem, and if we can work together, we can pool resources much better. Beyond that is what comes to being able to work together with people. I like to approach things from a place of shared curiosity and wanting to work together to solve a problem. Even if we're coming at this from different perspectives, we agree that there is something here that needs to be fixed. So how can we come in with open, curious minds to try and solve that problem? And after several years now as a labor organizer and nerdily as a dungeon master for over 7 years, I am very good at facilitating these sort of conversations and problem solving. And it is something that I am happy to be able to bring up to City Council with me.
All right, thank you all so much. All right, question number 4. What do you see as strengths and weaknesses of City Hall as a place for businesses to work with? And what changes would you make to help facilitate a more robust business community? And this one, we're going to start with candidate Clark at the end and just work your way towards me. So I won't announce the names if that works for you, and you can just pass it on along.
So first of all, I'd like to say that I've spent a lot of time working with the City of Auburn, and in particular their building and permitting department. I built a retail center here probably about 10 years ago, and those people are fabulous to work with. So we'd like to continue making sure that goes well. But I would like to do some more technological integration into our system. For example, when you do a change of use, say from a chiropractic office to an Edward Jones, you have to go through what's effectively a complete building permit process, and you have to get complete inspections where an inspector comes out and inspects what are effectively demising walls that are not a safety hazard, don't have anything to do with energy code. So we've integrated the Excella portal has been going around the state, and that would allow you to do photographic and telephonic inspections, which would help us inspect more businesses throughout the city more rapidly and alleviate some stress on building inspectors and the permitting department. So I'd like to see that happen.
Would you mind repeating the full question again?
Not at all. What do you see as strengths and weaknesses of City Hall as a place for businesses to work with? And what changes would you make to help facilitate a more robust business community?
Great. I think our strengths are we have an incredible economic development team. that works really well with business owners. I think we also have a public works team that works in tandem when you're having to work through surveys, et cetera. I think there's opportunity for us to streamline some processes so that business owners can be led through the permitting process and the surveying process in a more simplified have a more simple process as they're working through trying to get the permits that they need to open a business. I also think that having open communication, I'm super excited to be part of the chamber. We've got great business development events that we have, getting our business community to be able to know that there's resources. It's really just kind of a communication opportunity. We have so many great things happening within the city, but it's a matter of getting that information in front of business owners so that they can know where to go and how to get there in a more simplified process.
This is an area that I'm admittedly newer to. I don't know a lot about this. I have had a chance to pick up more information as I've been running for office, though. So I've seen that there's a lot of strength in the way that City Hall works to build relationships with the business community, like the Downtown Business Association. I don't remember their full name, but there's a really strong collaboration going on there. Just at City Hall a couple weeks ago, I believe, talking about their updates. And lots of opportunities to work together to promote the businesses here in Auburn and bring those out. That being said, having talked to some people who own local businesses, my daycare provider, there is a lot of paperwork and just slowdown in permitting for things. This is just the way government likes to do things. We really like paperwork, and I think there are definitely ways that we can make that go smoother, cut down on the amount of paperwork, cut down on the amount of things that you need to go through to make things happen more quickly. We live in a time of really advanced technology. There are ways that we can make things go faster, autofill things, whatever it takes to make everything go smoother for people.
Yep. For a positive, I would say the accessibility for this community. When I have a question for the city, I can just walk through the door, and there's always somebody happy to answer my questions. But some of the downfall of this is the permitting process for when businesses move within the city is nightmarish for them. And when I say nightmarish, it can take them months to get an occupancy permit to move. There's the transportation impact fees, and I think there ought to be a mechanism involved or some type of a lever where businesses that are I would say suffering or small businesses have an opportunity to get some type of a credit back for the expense or the waiving in totality of the traffic impact fees, especially when they're not really impacting any of the fees. And I think that there's a startling lack of information as far as help that for small businesses of what resources are available for them when they start. And I think that could be improved upon within the city. Thanks.
Have you ever talked to somebody that you heard a rumor from about somebody you've never met, and all of a sudden you're not trusting that third party that you know nothing about? A lot of times that's the interaction with the city. That's the interaction with the people that are helping you with the permit or the elected officials you've never met, you've never talked to, and that a lot of times creates mistrust. Whether it's justified or not is different. But to take care of that, I would bring people together. Make sure whoever the economic department, the individuals there, it's fairly small. The more that the businesses know them, the more they're going to start to trust them. It takes time. It's really hard to get that trust. But the same thing needs to happen with permitting department, with anybody else, public works, whoever is involved in that process to get that business from wishful thinking to a flourishing business. It takes effort, and we need to do it together. Thanks.
Thank you. So in this space for being able to improve relationships with businesses and opportunities for businesses in Auburn, we had heard as a council from our own economic development team that our transportation impact fees were potentially scaring people off. And so we have to be able to receive that information, process it, and be willing to make changes based on it. And I think that that is something that we can continue to improve on. what we have been able to do with those impact fees is actually create opportunities for businesses to do deferments, to create payment plans, and create additional options for business owners coming in so they don't have to be scared away by something that may seem like a high number. We're also adjusting how we process those so people have a chance to be competitive with, downtown Sumner, downtown Kent, different areas, which I'm excited about. In addition to that, I think to partner with our businesses, we need to work on workforce readiness. That means enabling families to have all of the adults work, which means making more affordable childcare available throughout our community and partnering with our businesses to find ways to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you. I've been out talking to all the businesses in our city, and when I moved here in 2008, I moved here because the city reminded me of where I come from, Walla Walla, a small country, knitted family group. And when I moved here, everybody was so friendly and they accepted me. What I've been hearing as I've been going over to talk to all the businesses is that they don't feel like they're getting the services that they need from our city. We've lost a lot of businesses. They say for some reason or another, they left because they didn't feel like they were getting the services that they should be getting. Also, as somebody mentioned about the impact fee, that also scared a lot of people because some of them paid a lot of money when they moved from one facility to the other. Others got help from the city on how to fill out the forms. So we need to do better to make sure that our businesses stay in our city and not move out because of taxes or other things.
So to start with the positives, we have a very strong team at the City of Auburn that is willing to help. We have pre-application meetings for those who may not understand the process. We have a great economic development team who is going out to the businesses on a regular basis. We have great relationships with the chamber, with the Downtown Auburn Cooperative. We have caring elected officials. We have streamlined permitting process. We go outside City Hall. We have small business advisories. Here's some of the negatives or some of the things that we need to work on. We need more technology. It's not always about hiring more people, but it's about putting the right technology in place so that we can help the most people. We can always do more listening. And in this area, restaurants, I believe, are operating on a 1 to 2% margin. It's almost impossible for them to make it. And we need to be working and lobbying our legislators and Congress to make sure that they're going to be able to stay in business because they are the backbone. And we need to work with those state laws, as I said, to make sure that we are supporting our businesses. We can always do better in that regard.
All right, thank you all so much. Moving on to question number 5. How do you plan to involve residents and businesses in the decision-making process at the city? And we're going to start with candidate Attila.
So I mentioned on this earlier, but people need to be feeling safe in order to give us that feedback. Not everybody is going to willingly get involved as you are doing here. So we need to go to them. We need to seek them out and get that feedback because people have experienced whatever we're trying to fix every day. They see it day in and day out. We don't. We see it from a different perspective. They drive that same road or they deal with the same issue, leak, whatever it may be. We don't get that perspective. Some people we need to go to in a place of worship or a school, a PTA meeting maybe, and that's where they feel they can be involved. Or a different time. Not everybody's available in the evening. Maybe they're working. We need to find a different time during the day. So it's being flexible and realizing not everybody fits that same box.
All right, candidate Baldwin.
All right, thank you. I think there are a lot of different ways that you can engage community members, and part of that is because as noted, different people have different schedules, different jobs, different ways that they're going to interact and provide information. Some people like to be in person. Some people have health issues or mobility issues. I think that technology is going to enable us to do more of what's sometimes called like a multifaceted or multi-channel communication to reach out and engage people, whether it's surveys, whether we have more hybrid meetings. I also have seen there's a lot of success with being able to provide childcare for people who are participating in community feedback sessions. So that way they're not stuck because maybe, there's no one to watch their kid. If they can bring that person, bring their kids with them, that enables more parents to come and get involved. And so looking at technology for those opportunities, looking at making sure that we're providing coverage so that way they can come and engage. And when we have major capital projects, I think those projects need to have deliberate community advisory groups participating in that process. Thank you.
All right, Candidate Trout.
Thank you. Technology has been really great since COVID came. That's allowed us to connect with everybody and bring more people to our meetings and to the table. I really believe that we need to get the people at the table when we're making some decisions for, like, let's use the theater as an example. Make sure that when they went to do the drawing, to have everybody that is going to facilitate that building was at the table, and we lacked on that. But that's how I feel that we need to make sure that everybody is coming in at the table, having their voices heard. Every culture, everybody that speaks different language, make sure that we have a translator there so that we can have those people be involved and learn what we're doing in our city. And we need to do more of that, and that is something that I will do if I become mayor.
Candidate Backus.
So there are a lot of ways that we can engage the community, and we're doing those right now. We have our third round of community meetings. In fact, there's one tomorrow night, if anyone is so inclined to come on back out tomorrow night from 6 to 8:30. We did some last year on public safety because there was a great deal of violence in South King County last year. We were listening to you. We heard what your concerns were, and we heard what your ideas were on how the city can be involved in ways to resolve the issues. So we're working on that. We have coffee hours. I go to coffee hours probably once a week to listen to our seniors. We have so many wonderful city events where we are engaging with you at Kids Day, at Juneteenth, at the farmers market. So many opportunities for us to engage with you, to come out where you are and not require you to come where we are. Walking the neighborhoods, getting groups together to find out exactly what are the concerns in your neighborhood and how can we as government fix those. Technology is always going to be something that we can use more of, and I really do believe that we need to involve our young people because they are the future of our community, and we need to know what is going to make them want to stay here and be part of our community.
All right, Candidate Clark.
First, I'd like to say that I actually think the city of Auburn already does a pretty remarkable job of reaching out to people. I've participated in the local town halls. I get the regular magazine that they mail out periodically. I'm subscribed to the email list. The number of ways that are available for a resident or a business owner to communicate with the city are pretty incredible. I think the thing that we could do to really actually get people engaged and excited about those opportunities would be to make it easier to own property and be a homeowner in the city of Auburn. I think if you're a renter or somebody who's staying here temporarily, you're less engaged with the city. If there's something you don't like, you're not really going to come to the meeting. You're just going to get out of your apartment and go someplace else. And I think there's a lot more that the city can do to incentivize for ownership housing developments that would get more people in the city involved with the city and that would have a vested interest in the city. And I think that could go a long way to incentivizing a higher level of community engagement than we maybe otherwise get, even though the opportunities are already there.
All right, Candidate Sturgis.
Thank you. I have a firm belief of educating and communicating and going to where the people are at. So we have information, a wealth of information out there. We've got, emails we can send you, the magazine he mentioned. I don't know about you, but I've got about 30,000 unread emails in my iCloud account because there's so much junk that comes in too. And so it's hard to sift through what's important and what's not. For me, I think that it's important that we have intentionality in where we put ourselves as council members. And so whether that be looking at the map and saying, hey, you know what, I normally talk to this group because that's the circle that I surround myself with. I need to go into this neighborhood and start talking to these folks. I need to go on a police ride along and see what's happening in these neighborhoods. And I'm gonna, every single event I attend as a city council member, I go in with a goal of making sure that I meet 7 new people. And I'm not there just to be at the event. I'm specifically asking questions to be curious, to get to know how those people feel and what's most important to those people, so that when I leave, I'm leaving with knowledge, information that I can take back to be a stronger, better council member for you and Auburn.
Candidate Thomas?
So I was really impressed when Auburn started the community conversations last year. That was something that I thought was a really great benefit to the city, as a chance for people to come out in community and talk together through problems, talk to our elected officials, and also neighbors, get to know new people to discuss things. I would like to see more of that, but I would like to see more targeted outreach. So at this point, it's mostly, set up to go to like a local school, come to us and we'll talk to you. I would like to see City Hall reach out to different faith communities, different other sort of community groups, go and reach out deliberately and go to them to talk to them about the problems that they're facing. I also want to see more outreach to our non-English language speaking community. Most of these, have been conducted primarily in English. We've got a lot of people here who that's not their first tongue, or they're not as able to readily communicate in that way. So focusing on bringing in translators so we can get all of the community engaged and we're not missing people's important perspectives on things that are happening here.
And Candidate Lott.
Yeah, I think the outreach should be, threefold. One is a virtual outreach for people that don't have time but want to attend or listen. And I listen frequently to city council meetings online. I can watch them online. I like that. It'd be nice if there was a two-way interaction that could occur, as opposed to just being a viewer on those. And the other thing I think is targeted outreach in person. And that is to try to piggyback on existing events that groups have, where you could show up and answer questions and not inconvenience them with having to go to a specific location at a specific time on a weekday, which makes it difficult. And targeted outreach could be at church events, it could be at a festival, it could be at anything where there's a gathering where you think there's a group of residents in Auburn that are there that you could reach out to and talk to find out what their opinions are on the city and what we could do better. Thanks.
All right, thank you all so much. All right, for our last open question, if elected, what steps would you take to create a safer and cleaner city for residents, businesses, and visitors? And we'll start this one with candidate Sturgis.
All right, what steps I would take? I have been actively building very strong relationships with our Auburn Police Department. I believe that supporting our police department with the technology and the resources they need in order to be effective and safe in protecting our community is critical, as well as making sure that they've got the training and the support they need for healthy community policing. I think we've made incredible strides in this area over the last couple years. I am so excited about the officers that I'm seeing on our force, and continue to want to be able to provide and advocate for those resources needed. The other piece is working with our Public Works Department to identify key areas that we can either restate expectations, engage the community, inspire the community to want to do their part on what they're responsible for, whether it's, hey, you own to the curb, so we need you to clean up your area, or the city's responsible for cleaning up this area, and now we're going to need additional staff or resources in order to make sure we can clean up and ensure that all of our streets are manicured and that they're something that we can be proud of. So Public Works and supporting our police department are two things that I'm very passionate about in working to build stronger relationships with.
Okay, and Candidate Clark?
So this might get a little controversial. I've heard a lot from residents that they're very concerned about ICE agents, in particular, the way that they're acting and behaving toward people that they believe are illegal immigrants, whether they are or aren't. And I think it's becoming a threat to public safety. And we really need to come together as a council and a community and decide the best way to address what I perceive as constitutional violations. And regardless of where you stand on the immigration question, at the federal issue, if we're deporting people, that's the consequence of the federal election. That's what we're going to be doing. But if we're going to do it, we're going to do it legally. And we need to make sure that we work with federal agencies that they cooperate in doing it legally. They should not be wearing masks. It's a violation of the Sixth Amendment. You have a right to know who your accusers are. And they should be following due process and getting warrants. So I expect to work with the police department if elected to make sure we can foster a better relationship with the federal government. Thank you.
All right, we'll move back down to candidate Backus, and then we'll just continue to the left after that if you'd like to just finish it off.
So I'm proud of the work that we've been doing in the city to make sure that Auburn is a safer and cleaner city for you to thrive in. In 2023 to 2024, crime was down overall 16.6%. In 24 to 25 year to date, crime is down 36%. That's a significant decrease in crime. That's because we are hiring qualified officers who are caring and compassionate about this community. It's proactive policing. Our homelessness program is a model that is being revered region-wide and statewide. It is a model that other cities are trying to emulate because it is working for us. We are getting people off the streets. We are making it a safer place. You don't see people trying to break in downtown businesses anymore like they were in 2019, 2020 when we had COVID. And the entire country was having a higher crime rate. Our crime rates in Auburn are down. We hire and retain great officers. We listen to you in the community and hear what your needs are and make sure that we're meeting those as well.
I'm glad to hear the mayor say that crime is down. That is not what I hear out there in the community as I'm out there door knocking and talking to our constituents. They're all afraid. There's a lot of crime happening with our youth and a lot of shooting. I've gotten 2 videos from people's cameras, from the Ring cameras, of cars going by very quickly and shooting. And they've gone out the next day and they found the shells along the side of the road. I think we have a beautiful city. I think that we need to continue working with our parks and recs. Our parks and recs are used by a lot of outsiders from that come and play soccer here, but they need a little bit of help of remodeling some of the bathrooms because I would not let anybody use the bathrooms because they're so old and they need to be replaced. But I would, as a mayor, I would continue working with our police department because I think we have a strong police force.
All right. So for a safer and cleaner city, one of the things that comes to mind for me in this space is when we talk about public safety, making sure that we have the right responders responding to the appropriate situation. So if there's someone dealing with chronic addiction or having mental health crisis, we need to get people who can support that there. That can help free up our police to actually focus on crime in our community. And so I see those as complementary programs that work together to really create a better holistic sense of safety within our community. Additionally, when we think about trying to have more business activity in our city, being able to have affordable housing, that means we need to be able to have construction. But in the Valley and Auburn, we run in 20 degrees hotter than other parts of King County at the same time of day. And if you're outside doing manual labor, if you're working on roads, if you're trying to do any type of construction, that heat makes it harder to do your job. And if we want to be able to have growth and have more return out of the businesses here, we need to be doing something to begin addressing that extreme heat now. Thank you.
So safety, you hear that word, the first thing that comes to mind is police, which is true. They're a huge part of it. and we need to support them in the sense of we've seen some laws in the past that luckily have gone away at this point, but have made them feel like their job doesn't always matter. And when you start having somebody on the police force feeling that way, it's not going to be very safe. Luckily, we've gone very far away from that. Talking to a lot of the police officers here, they feel like they make a difference. I've talked to a few of them that went to other departments and then ended up coming back, which is a great thing to hear. The other thing that you don't necessarily associate with safety is infrastructure. That needs to be up to par, that needs to be safe. If there's a lot of potholes or there's not enough crosses to get to the other side of the city, the response time is not going to be good enough. And in turn, that really affects the safety. I know there's at least one crossing towards the mall where you need to go 2 or 3 miles down to go because there's not enough. That could be an improvement in the future.
Yep. When I go out and talk to people, public safety is really the first topic that comes up to them. And almost everybody that I've spoken to in this community has either been touched by crime or knows somebody that has. And I think the first stop is really community involvement. And a lot of people have just given up in Auburn. When I talk to them about a car broken into, I ask if they've called the police department, and they say, why? You know, they've given up on the system here. And so I think there's a combination of building trust and community involvement, but I also think that the police need additional tools. And additional tools can be a review of ordinances to see what public safety ordinances can be tightened up, especially when it comes into regarding juveniles and some of the crimes they commit, and make the parents responsible and fine them and work to tighten up the rules under the ordinances in Auburn. And I've talked to some of the police officers, and they'd like to stop some of the crime, but they told me right now they just don't have the tools to do it. And most of it is underage kids doing stuff, and they have no way to enforce the law. There is no law for them, but I think city ordinances are a way to go with curfews and with public safety ordinances.
So when it comes to public safety, we have a very robust police department as is. They do a lot of good work, but they're being asked to do a lot of things that they're not necessarily prepared for, they're not necessarily trained for, and frankly isn't in their job description. So being able to build out our community responses, we already have a really excellent homeless services division. I've worked with them on the Human Services Committee here in Auburn. They do a lot of really excellent work. They could use more help to be able to go out and interact with our unhoused population, with people who are having mental health crises. They're doing that on the ground every day. They could always use more help there. We could also do a lot more investment in making clean, open third spaces. This is something that I see a lot with young people, is especially the ones who came of age during COVID. They exist almost entirely online because they didn't have the opportunity to go out and build a formative experience in public. So trading spaces for them to go where they can be safe, where they can interact with each other, and where they're not going to be mothered or overwatched too much by adults, but have a chance to experience and grow, will make a lot of difference in helping reduce juvenile crime.
Apologies, I was told it was getting a little cold in here, so I pushed the button a couple times. All right, so next we're going to go to our yes or no questions. Does everybody have their card? Okay, as a reminder, you have the option to vote yes, no, or abstain by leaving it on the table. Also, as a note, I did not write these questions, so if you do not like it, we do not blame the moderator, okay? All right. Number 1, do you support ballot measure Proposition 1? All right. Number 2, do you support ballot measure Proposition 2? Good thing there aren't 10 of those. The questions would be very boring. Did you use local Auburn area businesses to make your campaign supplies? All right. Are you in favor of imposed fees on commercial retail space that has been vacant for 3 years or more? All right. Sorry, these are interesting to me. Have you participated in a police ride-along within the last year in your city? All right. Have you met with your local Chamber of Commerce staff and/or board in the last year regarding the needs of your business community? Are you in favor of increasing your city's B&O tax? Okay. Do you think that the minimum wage should be increased in our city? Okay. I like the floating papers, kind of the in-between. In the last 30 days, have you dined at a locally owned business? Beautiful. I hope it was at the mall. I'm biased. Prior to running for office or being in office, were you an active member or volunteer of an Auburn area nonprofit servicing the community? All right. And I got to say, this is my volunteer role, so I'm saying yes on this one. I'm not running, but all right. Last one. Have you voted in the last 5 years? Beautiful. Love to see that. Okay, those are all of our rapid fire questions. So we will be moving on to closing statements. As a reminder, each person has 2 minutes this time for your closing statements, and we'd like you to provide voters with why they should vote for you in the upcoming primary election. We're going to do a mix-up again, so I'll call each candidate's name as we move forward, starting with candidate Thomas.
It's been really nice to have this opportunity to talk with all of you this evening and share a little bit about myself, my vision, and what I hope to see in Auburn. But what I want to see isn't the only thing that matters. It's what all of us here in our community want to see. And that's what I'm hoping to learn as I go about doing this door knocking, coming to events like this, so that I can take what I learned from all of you to City Hall to make the Auburn that we all want to live in now and the Auburn that we want to see 5, 10, 15 years down the road for our children, grandchildren, and all of that. I hope to be able to have a strong connection with our business community while I'm in the City Council, be able to come and talk to you whenever possible. I know there are times we're going to be disagreeing on certain things, but I will always come with an open mind and open to hearing what your concerns are and seeing if it's something that we can solve, or if it is something that maybe we just need to look at different ways of approaching the problem. I am a problem solver. I am a data nerd. I'm always going to come in with facts, numbers, and stories to decide what I do. So I thank you for your time tonight, and I hope you had a great time listening to all of us, and I look forward to your vote in November.
Thank you. Moving on to candidate Lott.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. And, you know, I'll try to be less than 2 minutes here, but I have 30 years of collaborative project management experience, and that experience is nationwide with public facilities and private facilities, and that involves interfacing with federal government, state agencies. And I think I could bring that skill set, that 30-year skill set to Auburn and help solve some of the issues here. And I moved here in 2019. Haven't been here as long as some people like Cheryl, but I moved to downtown because I saw something I really liked about this town, and I decided this is a place I wanted to stick in and retire and be able to walk around downtown. And I'd like to bring that vision to the people of Auburn, and I really do feel like the citizens of Auburn deserve better. They deserve a safe community. They deserve a downtown that's vibrant and busy. And you know, I'm tired of hearing stories from people over at Rainbow Cafe of how it used to be, where you couldn't get in through a doorway at a store because it was so busy downtown. I'd like to see that again. And so I decided, you know, I'm going to run and see if I can bring that skill set here and solve some of these issues and get Auburn, I feel like, back to the way it was, where it was a bustling center of attention. So, thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Atalo?
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for still being here. I was born in Iraq and came to the U.S. at a really young age. I grew up to the lovely sounds of sirens, so it's interesting coming here and really appreciating the privilege that we all have here. I moved to Virginia first when I was young, and then came out to Washington almost 20 years ago when I was trying to be a civil engineer, and I loved it so much. I'm still here. I'm almost done with my Master's of Public Administration, which I'm excited with all the policy questions. That's something I'm very familiar with and getting even more familiar with. I'm also a union steward for the past couple of years, so I've been seeing a lot of the grievances and issues that come up with other cities, and it's not that different here in Auburn. I've been coaching high school soccer in the region for the past 5 years and seeing how some of the kids and their parents that don't even have time to go watch them at a free high school soccer game because they're working 2 or 3 jobs. And that's sad to see. I've also been involved in the school board oversight committee for Seattle. Just their construction is so big, but it has really opened my eyes, even though I don't have any kids. I've been seeing firsthand what some of the struggles are and those big numbers that they have to deal with year in and year out. The focus on local government, even though I'm not an elected official, I've been on national committees. I am on national committees right now through Public Works, through Water, and then regional committees as well. In Cascade Water Alliance, I'm the representative, as well as the King County, the Wastewater MUPAC committee, where a lot of the changes start there, whether it's your sewer rates and what happens there. So I appreciate the city, and I hope the opportunity for everybody keeps flowing like the rivers that define the city.
Thank you. Candidate Baldwin?
Thank you so much. I will begin my close by saying that when I originally ran for office, it was because I know that our community is stronger when we look out for each other. And I want to keep going and continue to do that work. In these past 4 years, it has been my absolute honor and privilege to get to work within this community and be an advocate for my neighbors and for our businesses. And going forward, if I have the opportunity to continue, there are things that I want to do. I want to make sure that we invest in working families and that we build a strong and fair economy. As much as sometimes we worry about how do we keep our businesses going, I know that those businesses need customers. And I think that that's a very important thing and a responsibility that we have to be able to make sure that people can live and afford to be in Auburn, that their children can afford to be in Auburn, and that if people want to be a part of this community, we make room for them and that they are welcome here. As we had heard earlier, our city has been changing. We're growing, and we're going to be over 100,000, most likely within the next 4 years. And in our population, we have multiple languages. We have people from different countries. The estimates I heard is that 1 out of every 5 residents of Auburn was born in a different country, and that is a amazing and beautiful thing that we have. And I think that there's strength in taking that diversity and making it a part of our core culture here in Auburn. In addition to that, we do still have work to make sure that everyone feels safe, and in all the different ways that safety can be present. And it's our responsibility as council members to make sure that we build a resilient city and that we are future ready. So many things are changing, whether it's at the federal level with the leadership that's currently in place, whether it's AI coming in and bringing technology that could affect our jobs, whether it's climate effects where we have more intense storms and rainfall trying to mess up our beautiful infrastructure and resources. As leaders, we have to make sure that we are informed, that we are prepared, and that we are looking to take care of everyone here today and into the future.
Thank you. Candidate Trout?
Thank you. Friends, Auburn is at a crossroad. We can do better, and we can do some, just a minute. Auburn is at a crossroad. We can keep doing the same thing as we've been doing for the past 10 years and get the same results, or we can choose to do better and go in a different direction. I believe in Auburn. I believe in our people. And I believe that together we can build a city that is safe and welcoming and full of opportunities for everybody. This election is not about me. It's about us. It's about our kids that are walking the streets and they're afraid, and we need to do better to make our schools, they don't feel safe in their schools. We need to do better on that. It's about our small businesses growing strong. It's about the seniors enjoying their golden years in a city that cares. But none of this is going to happen without you. I can't do this by myself. I need your voice. I need your energy. I need your ideas. And yes, your vote. We need to get the people to get out and vote. In the primary, we didn't have a good turnout, so we need to get the message out. Together, we can write the next chapter of an Auburn story the story of hope, pride, and prosperity. So let's work together for the citizens of Auburn. Let's work together for everyone here, that we can have their voices heard, have them at the table when the appropriate time for them to be heard. I'm all about, and let's make Auburn the city that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Backus?
Thank you. You've heard a great deal tonight, and I hope it's given you some insight into each of us and that you can appreciate what it means for everyone up here to open themselves up to scrutiny to serve our city. I appreciate my family and my friends for their unwavering support and love through the years. And thank you once again to the Chamber and Junior Achievement for bringing us together this evening. In the 1960s, the term silent majority was often used to divide people. But today, the silent majority is something quite different. A large group of people in the middle of the political spectrum who simply want their leaders to do the right thing, to be honest, to be dedicated, and to serve with dignity, compassion, and respect, to focus on the issues that matter to you, like homelessness, public safety, affordable housing, a strong economy, and transportation. As I look back on my 12 years of serving as your mayor, I'm filled with pride, not just for what we've done, but for the momentum we have built together. Auburn has grown into a respected voice in South King County and across this region. That didn't happen by chance. It's a result of years of building relationships, showing up, working hard, and ensuring that Auburn is not just heard, but sought out as a leader on the issues that matter to our community. The challenges ahead of us require steady and experienced leadership. There's more work to do, and together we've proven that Auburn leads with purpose, with heart, and with results. Please, please, please do not be silent. I'm humbly asking for your trust, your partnership, and your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please pass to Candidate Clark at the end.
I'd like to reiterate that my campaign focus is creating housing, protecting civil rights, and streamlining economic development. I think I've got a unique background in real estate development as a small business owner and as a published academic in policy analysis to generate public policy that is as nuanced as it needs to be to get the job done. And I'm also willing to take a stand in defense of our civil rights in a way that I think most other candidates may not be. And so, if you like what you've heard from me today, if you like some of the policies you have, you want to give me some feedback, I do have some cards out on the table. We talked a lot about listening to feedback and engaging with the community. Part of my campaign has been asking people to respond to my policy survey. There's a little QR code on the back that you can respond to and let me know what you think about what I've talked about. If you have any criticisms or feedback, and I can respond to that, no problem. We can't make policy in a bubble. We bring the ideas, but you bring the decisions. And so I'd like to build a better future together with you and create an Auburn that makes instead of takes. So thanks.
Thank you. And then Candidate Sturgis.
Thank you. I would actually respectfully disagree. Hopefully you bring the ideas, but these 7 people who sit on the city council have all of the decisioning power to make policy and approve funding for what happens in our city, and that's a huge responsibility. I didn't quite realize that until the last several years of my learning. I have a unique opportunity that not only am I running to retain this seat, but I was appointed into it, and so I've jumped both feet in, running probably 8.0 on a treadmill at a 10 incline since May when I got into the position to learn and be able to deliver value for each of you in Auburn. I have this oath sitting on my desk every single day. It was my oath I took joining City Council that I show up every day for everybody in Auburn. So it is my job to learn as much as I can, to come be a value add and be a strong, loud voice for what most of the people in Auburn need, and then be able to make sure that we have the ability to make good decisions for one-off situations. I believe that my leadership brings a unique value. I do have notes because the people who do know me know that I really can't speak on a timer. But throughout my career, I have always been a workhorse. I show up every single day the same positive person. You're never going to catch me outside of being who I am. I do have a worse potty mouth at home, but otherwise I'm the same person 24 hours a day. I'm always this positive. I'm always this much of a fighter, and I always work this hard for others. I've led people to believe something bigger than themselves. I had people follow me. 21 people left Wells Fargo and followed me to Harborstone because they wanted to work for my leadership style. It's because I come with authenticity. I'm relatable. I have courage. I have a deep level of sense of empathy, and I also am radically candid. I believe in eyeball-to-eyeball conversations where you talk about what's really the issue on the table, and I believe you can do that in a respectful, caring way. And what I think for our city council is that you need a group of people who have demonstrated skill sets and performance in their backgrounds, and who also have the leadership skills to engage in healthy conversation and productive conflict.
All right, and that concludes our closing statements. I want to thank you all so much for coming out to be here tonight. We're so grateful, and we wish you luck in the upcoming election. Voter ballots will be mailed out to voters starting next week. The general election voter deadline is November 4th. If you'd like to get more voter information, we have a table out here in the main lobby. There's a lot of different supplies on there for the candidates and some things provided by the chamber as well. If you do want to meet with any of our candidates and socialize, we do encourage you please to do that out here so that our team can reset this room back to what it originally looked like without having to pull the chairs out from under you. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. Thank you.